What's up YouTube? Robbie Vapes back with another video as promised. We just looked at the SubTank Mini. I know these videos are 2 days apart, but I wanted to do them back to back just so I had everything fresh in my mind. So we looked at the SubTank Mini and now we're looking at the Maganus tank. This thing is crazy. Let's start just by saying this. This thing can go from 20 to 180 watts without a dry hit. The guy at the store actually did do a 180 watt pull on this. It was smoking hot. It's not anywhere near where I would be vaping, but he did prove that wasn't a dry hit. So, I mean, if you're into that hot vape, this might be for you. So without going into too much detail here, let's go straight into the review. Same 5 categories as what you saw for the Kangaroo SubTank. We have vapor quality and output, we have flavor, we have craftsmanship, we have price, and we have overall rating, okay? Let's just start by saying the vapor quality on this, it almost seems unfair. I'm using a Sigelei 150 watt mod. I'm hitting at, let's see here, I am hitting at 70 watts. It's a 0.2 ohm factory built coil. This is just a clearmizer. As far as I know, there's no way to make it into an RBA, at least yet. And I can see why. The factory coil alone is well worth it. 0.2 ohm factory coil is phenomenal. And this thing hits. And actually, it says 0.2 ohms, but I actually think it's 0.3 ohms, but I could be wrong. Anyways, let's take a hit off this, and then we'll talk about vapor quality and output. So here we go, 70 watts, 0.2 ohms is what it's reading on here. Let's see how it vapes. Very dense, fulfilling vapor from this clearmizer. I almost want to call it an RDA because it's just so good at what it does. It is phenomenal. The vapor quality is there, the density is there, the throat hit you get from this is perfect. And the biggest thing that I'll say about this one versus SubTank is this can actually handle higher VG blends. I've actually put up to 90-10 mixes of a 90% VG, 10% PG, and it handles it no problem. No dry hits, nothing. The highest I've taken this thing is 100 watts, and I got a dry hit. But I'll talk about that in craftsmanship because this is not without flaw, don't get me wrong. There are definitely flaws to this thing. So, vapor quality, I'm going to do the same thing I did for the Kangaroo, and I'm going to actually have 2 different ratings. How does it stack up for a clearmizer, and how does it stack up for an RDA? Vapor quality, I'm going to take another hit because I love this thing so much. I'm just going to hit on it one more time. I mean, nice long hit. The other thing I like about this is the airflow on this. Instead of just one slot, you actually have 2, and they're bigger than the Kangaroo SubTank. So let's just look at that real quick. I'm trying to do a close up. There's 1, and there's 2. You can twist it at the bottom. It also has a little stopper. I don't know if you can see it right there where my finger is. So you can't actually twist it anymore. But again, you can twist it. It's pretty easy. It's clicky. I do it wide open because that's what I like. You may do it less. Whatever your preference is, doesn't matter. This thing hits. As a clearmizer, out of 10, what does it get? I'm skeptical to give it anything more than what I'm going to give it because I haven't tried a lot of these sub-ohm clearmisers out there. I haven't tried the Arctic. I haven't tried the Joytech that everybody's raving about, and now I kind of want to. You know, I haven't tried the Atlantis, although I've heard terrible things about it. Just saying. That's just what I've heard. I haven't tried it, so I can't give you my first-hand experience with it. But as an overall rating, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 on vapor quality and production. This thing, like I said, hits. It's very good, very dense. I mean, it's not going to win any cloud competitions. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to fulfill. It's going to serve a purpose, or it's going to serve the purpose that you want it to, and that is an alternative to an RDA. RDAs, how does it compare? That's the question. Is this going to replace an RDA? The answer is, it depends. It's got a pretty good output for what it does. And if you have a box mod, which by the way, I said I wasn't a box mod guy, and I went out and got 2 of these stupid things. I got the E-Leaf and I got the Cieli 150 watt. And I like the box mods now. I didn't think I would. I'd tried them in the past. I didn't like them. And now I'm starting to like them. But that's a whole other story. So, compared to an RDA, what would I give it? I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10. And I feel like that's fair because depending on who you are, will depend on how applicable that rating will be. For some people, it will be only a 6 out of 10 because you guys are all cloud chasers. For you cloud chasers, you're not going to give it as high of a rating as I did. You know, the people who can vape really warm vapes, I haven't tried it at 180 watts. Maybe this does compete at 180 watts. I don't know. But I can't handle 180 watts. That's just me. Now, for some of you guys who do the lower builds, I should say higher resistance builds, say 0.6, 0.7 builds, this thing competes really well, and you actually may give it a higher grade than what I just gave it. Again, it's all relative, so I don't want to go into too much detail and get stuck on this because there's arguments for it either way. Depending on who you are, will depend on how you rate this against an RDA. As a clearomizer, this actually may be too much vapor for you. You can hit it at a lower wattage and it'll put out a lot less vapor. Like I'm just turning it down to 30 watts right now. And let's see what it hits at 30 watts. So 30 watts works up to 2.9 volts, 0.2 ohms. And let's take a hit. Very wispy, doesn't perform very well. But if you're using a Nautilus or something like that, it'll do the job. But I mean, at the price, which we'll get to later on, I don't think it's worth it. If that's the amount of vapor you want out of a clearomizer, this isn't worth it. So it's all relative. Moving on, flavor. Flavor. How does it compare to a Subtank Mini is the biggest question, because I vape both of them on and off for the past week. I have not used an RDA with the exception of maybe a couple times, but for the most part I haven't used an RDA at all. I've been using just these 2 tanks, and I have to tell you how it compares flavor-wise. I know I'm going to put out a review head-to-head, and there's some spoilers in here. If you just want to watch the head-to-head, that's fine. But you'll get an idea of which one I prefer pretty much from watching these 2 videos. The flavor is good. It's not as good as a Subtank Mini though. I don't know why that is, it just doesn't seem to have the flavor. But it's still really good. As a clearomizer, it gets an 8 out of 10. As an RDA, the flavor gets 7.5. It's all relative. It's the only way I can put it. I mean, the flavor's there, but the one thing I found with the Subtank that I didn't really talk about in the video was that when there's an undertone flavor to something, and it's a very complex mixture, I find the Subtank brings out all of the flavors. This one focuses on the main flavor. For example, I'm actually vaping a new one in here that I hadn't tried before, and I actually tried dripping it and it tasted a lot different. So I'm just pulling it out. This is Dr. Fog, and it's Blue Banana Haze. It's supposed to be a blueberry, banana, hazelnut, and waffle mix. To be honest, what I'm getting from this one is a lot of blueberry, maybe a slight sweet waffle taste, not much so. In my dripper, I haven't actually tried that one in my Subtank yet. I've tried the other flavor I got from them in my Subtank. But compared to the RDA and compared to the Clearomizer, I mean, the Clearomizer I'm getting a lot of blueberry, and the RDA I actually got the blueberry and a little bit of hazelnut as well, but I still didn't get the banana flavor. I don't know why I'm not getting banana, I'm just not getting it. Maybe it's just me, but I'm going to try it in the Subtank, see if it brings up the banana at all, because that's what I'm really into right now is banana. Hopefully it does. But again, flavor-wise, against an RDA, 7.5. Against Clearomizer, gets an 8. Solid 8. It's still there, it's still a very good flavor, it's just not bringing out the subtle notes of certain blends. Craftsmanship. Oh god. This is where it falls short. Let's just be honest, I'm going to be blunt on this. There's a few things in this I absolutely hate. And I mean hate. I cannot think of a stronger word than hate, because that is how I feel about some of these things. keep in mind, we're not talking about blemishes, we're not talking about scratches, we're not talking about machine oil, nothing like that, no. We're talking about the actual building, the actual build and engineering of this device, okay? You'd think for something that can chuck vapor as much or as well as this thing can, it would have such a great craftsmanship rating. The flaws in it are very small. You may disagree with my rating I'm going to give it after you hear the flaws, but until you've actually tried filling one of these stupid things up and you've seen what I'm talking about, and there's two big things that I think are big and everybody else is going to say is very small. It's awful. It is awful. And I think it had to be designed that way. I hope it did. Otherwise, they really screwed up. But I think it has to be designed that way to handle such high wattage. The first one is filling this thing up. I'm going to take this off here and show you what I'm talking about, okay? Give you a close-up and show you exactly what I'm talking about to fill it up. In here, you have two, I would call it side wells or whatever you want to call it, that will drip into the main tank itself. But they're so close to the wall of the cylinder or of the canister, whatever you want to call it, it's impossible to get anything in there. And that is a huge piss off because this thing can handle high VG stuff, but try getting high VG stuff down the side of this thing without having it all spill out right through the drip tip. It is very difficult. I've even used needle syringes, and with a needle syringe with a 90-10 mix, 90% VG, 10% PG, it will literally take me, this is no exaggeration, over 3 minutes to fill this thing up. And this is not a huge tank, I think it's like 3 milliliters. The other part of that, because these sidewells, again, I'll do a close-up here in a second, but because these sidewells, you actually lose out on a lot of the space that's in this tank. It feels like there's a lot of wasted space here. You can never fill it up as much as you want. Maybe that's a safety thing, maybe that's because of the high wattage, I don't know. But I want you to see this, okay? Here it is, up at the camera. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get the sidewell. It's right above my finger. It's almost like a little hole there. You can kind of see it right here. Just that little line there. And it is so tight against the glass, it is near impossible to fill. Huge flaw. If this wasn't in part because of the high wattage it has, it was a huge fail on their part. If they had to do it because of the high wattage, I can kind of understand, but if you have to sacrifice 30, 40, 50 watts on this thing to get it to fill better, do it, because it is ridiculous how bad it is to fill. I mean, I get so frustrated. And the problem is, because I'm vaping at such a high wattage already, and I'm only vaping like middle of the line compared to what I can handle, it goes through juice pretty fast. Like, I can fill this thing up 3 or 4 times in a day, and that's a piss off, because that's 3 or 4 times I have to spend with a little needle tip thing, squeezing along the side, trying to get it through the middle, filling up my juice, and it's so aggravating to do, and it's so tiresome. It's just, I don't know, I'm ranting a little bit here, and again, maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but it's a big deal for me for some reason. I hate it so much with a passion. I have to stress that. The second flaw, as part of this, these little holes that I just showed you, whenever I turn it back, so it's been upside down for a while, you get these air bubbles that form. Okay, and with this liquid, it's actually a lower VG, so it's not as bad. But with high VG, you get pretty bad air bubbles, and that is what caused that dry hit I had at 100 watts. I sat there, it was sitting like this, okay? It was sitting straight up. I picked it up. I pretty much did exactly that, where I shook it a little bit, just a little bit, screwed it on, and as I'm screwing it on, gets a little bit wavy, right? As you're screwing it on, the juice gets a little wavy. Hit 100 watts, and I tilted it to program the wattage. When I tilted it back, there was a massive air bubble. I missed the air bubble. I went to take a hit. It was dry, which is crazy. It's almost like the air got sucked into it instead of the liquid, and I just got it like burning. It was bad, and it's all because of these sidewells that are just so close to the glass. It's so easy to form air bubbles, and it's not a good thing. So you have to be very careful, and I'm actually paranoid now. Every time before I vape, I will actually, and you may have even seen me do it already, I check really quickly to see if there's any air bubbles, and then I hit it. Because I'm telling you, it is the worst. And at 100 watts, the dry hit is not pleasant. If you haven't experienced it, then trust me, it's not something you want to experience. Those are the downsides to the craftsmanship. It's unfair to just talk about the downsides. Let's talk about the upsides. Let's talk about the pros. The airflow. It's phenomenal. It's not a Mutation X RDA type airflow, but it'll do. It'll do for sure. The dual airflow is good. I go wide open. I love it. I'm gonna take a hit off it right now and show you what I mean. It's good. I mean, it's a good airflow. No complaints. That's something I'm really impressed with. You know, the look of it isn't bad. The design, it's not bad. It's not as fancy as a sub tank. Don't get me wrong. The box the packaging came with was not as fancy as a sub tank. Again, we're throwing packaging right at the window. I don't care about packaging. I care about how it works. Apart from those two flaws, really, the drip tip on this is perfect. It's got a really nice wide bore. The downside is it's not compatible with 510. At least none of the ones I had. It's not bad though. You can see the bore there. It's not bad. It gives you the vapor you want. I can't complain with it. So overall craftsmanship, and this is where a lot of people are going to disagree. You know, actually before I give you the overall, let's talk about the coils there. The coils here are phenomenal. I mean, like I said, I got the one dry hit, but it was the air bubble's fault, not the coil's fault. Let's not confuse those. The coil itself is very well built. It's also organic cotton in the middle. I want to say it's a dual wrap vertical coil. I think it's got like 7 or 8 wraps. I tried to take one apart. I completely butchered it. That's why it's not on camera right now. I apologize. It's good. Plus, I don't have too many coils for this because they're sold out, so I only have 2, and I'm on my second one already. I'm trying to be careful. The only reason the first one got ruined was because of, it wasn't even the dry hit, it was actually because I tried taking it apart. The dry hit, it still vaped well. There was no burnt taste afterwards. It was just that one initial burning taste I got, and then it went back to normal. So yeah, I mean, the coil is really well built. The whole device is really well built, with the exception of those sidewalls, which cause the air bubbles, and it causes a pain in the ass to fill this thing. That being said, as a clear-miser, how does it stack up? It's so good, and I don't want to penalize it as much as I am, but I'm going to. It gets a 7 out of 10 for craftsmanship as a clear-miser because of those two things. That is how annoying it is to me. And until you experience it, maybe you'll disagree, or maybe you'll find it even more frustrating. There was times, I swear, I felt like throwing this thing against a wall because I was just so fed up with filling this thing up for, you know, minutes at a time. And it doesn't sound like a long time, but when all you're doing is sitting there with a little dripper and a little needle nose, trying to get in there and squeeze it, and then after 3.5 minutes, you still get some dripping through the drip tip because you can't get it in, even a needle point you can't get in. I mean, what else am I going to say, right? I mean, it's just such a downside. So how does it stack up against an RDA? Craftsmanship-wise, 6.5. I'm docking another half mark for those two things because you never have to experience any of those with an RDA. So, I mean, as harsh as it is, this is the one category that I wanted to include for that reason, so you could hear the two negatives, or the two cons. Because in all the other categories, there's not really many other cons. Those are the two cons that I can think of from my experience over the last week on using this thing. Just me. That's craftsmanship. Moving on to price. I paid $60 for this. I actually haven't found it like anywhere else. I saw it on one website. They were sold out. I think it was going for $45, and I have a feeling that this was actually made by them. Either that or the company that I bought it from had purchased some wholesale from this company. I don't know. I could be wrong. $60, it's expensive. It's about the same price as the Joytech Delta 2 though, and I haven't got that yet. I do want to get that, but we're going to try and hold off on that for now. It's not bad. The price, I mean, what can you say, right? I mean, it's a high-end clear-miser. If you're using the Aero tanks, the Pro tanks, the price is going to be way too high for you. Do not get this. This is, my opinion, this is way too much for someone like yourself. If you're using an RDA and you're looking for that really nice, fulfilling vapor that you want that still has, you know, a really good flavor to it, $60, I say go get it. I'm so happy I got this thing. This will definitely be replacing my dripping and driving. By far. I love it. It's a pain in the ass to fill. Once it's filled, I can use it for at least getting to and from work, and I usually use it throughout the day, so I'll fill it up at least once or twice throughout the day at work, and really, I like it. 60 bucks, I'm happy I paid for it. I would not return it. If I had the option to keep it or return it for my 60 bucks back, I would keep it. That's me. You may think differently. That's just my opinion. Moving on to, let's rate the price. So as a Clearomizer, how does it stack up? After what I just said, it's hard to really put a proper evaluation on it. My personal opinion as a Clearomizer, for pricing at 60 bucks, it gets an 8 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good value for what you get. You don't get an extra tank with it. You do get an extra coil with it, and you get little user manual and things like that. So you don't get much with it, but you get enough. I mean, I don't usually need the extra tank. I know some people really complain when you don't get an extra one. I'm fine with just one. It's gonna suck when I have to buy a whole new one when I crack this thing tomorrow, because something tells me I just jinxed myself. But let's face it, I mean, 60 bucks isn't that bad. And as a Clearomizer, 8 out of 10, I think that's a pretty fair evaluation. Your evaluation may go up or down depending on what you're currently using. As an RDA, what does it get? For pricing, well, again, we have the same issue we have with the Kanger, and that is RDAs vary so much by like $20 and under to over $100. It's so hard to put a price on it, and it's so hard to compare it against all of them. So pricing as an RDA, I'm gonna give it an 8 as well, just from what I've purchased so far as an RDA. It's actually the most expensive thing I've bought. It's the most expensive RDA / Clearomizer I've ever purchased, but I'm happy with it, and that's the thing. My Mutation X was 45, my Mutation X V2 was 45, my Plume Veil clone was, I think, 45 or 50, so it was on the higher end, and that's where I was disappointed with it. But my Stellaire clones were like 20 bucks and 25 bucks, I think it was. I paid 2 different prices for them because I have 2 of them. And they're bought in 2 different cities, of course. So, yeah, I mean, it's not bad for the price. I'm happy to pay this. Just me. Moving on to overall rating. How do I rate this overall? Overall opinions as a Clearomizer, again, it completely depends on what you're doing now. This might be overkill for you. If it is, you're probably going to rate it lower than I will. As an RDA, and if you're really in the market, you're really serious about these sub-ohm tanks, I really think that my rating is fair. But if you're not in the market for these, or you don't really feel like you need to worry about dripping and driving, or you need to worry about an alternative, say at work, because that was the other thing, is at work I was dripping all the time, and people would come up to me and they were blown away. One thing I will specify, by the way, because I need to specify this now, my work is very understanding. We have 2 vapors there, myself and someone else. We both quit smoking. He quit a little bit after me, and they have been hugely supportive of both of us. They allow us to vape inside. They don't mind. It's completely their choice. As of right now in Calgary, it's basically up to the building owner on who's allowed to vape or whether or not you're allowed to vape. And thankfully, the president of my company is super understanding. He's really supportive of me quitting smoking. I cannot thank him enough for what he's done. I really appreciate that. And as a result, I've been able to vape inside. That being said, I did feel bad dripping inside because the amount of vapor is just so intense. It would pretty much fog up a room in seconds. And although they don't mind it, and they actually laughed about it a lot, I still felt a little bit uncomfortable with that. So this is kind of a little bit of a step down from an RDA for me. And it's perfect for at work, and that's what I like about it. So with that being said, overall rating as a Clearomizer, 9.5 for me. Based on everything else I've said, you may disagree with that rating. You may give it a lot less. You may give it a 10. I mean, I'd be surprised. I don't give 10s to anything. And you know what? I'm just thinking, I looked down on my sheet and I saw craftsmanship. I can't give it a 9.5, guys. I'm sorry. As a Clearomizer, it's definitely not a 9.5 now that I think about it. I always forget about the craftsmanship or the 2 complaints I have until it actually affects me. As soon as I start dripping into this and start pouring my e-liquid in here, that's when I start remembering how much I hate this thing. And I just poured it in, so it should have been fresh in my mind, but it's not. And remember what I said about how it doesn't fill up all the way. This was just done, and I've only taken 3 or 4 hits off it, and that's how much is in there. It's only at about half. So fully filled, it only fills up about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way. Fully filled. Because this thing gets in the way, and anything more starts dripping over into the drip tip. Now with all that being said, let's give it an overall rating. A real one this time, not 9.5 in a fantasy world. Overall rating, as a clear miser, it now gets an 8. And that's very solid. It only has a few flaws, but the problem is the flaws are so big that it has to take off 2 points for it. How does it compare as an RDA? What's my rating? 7.5. Yeah, I'll give it a 7.5. That doesn't mean I'm not happy with it. It doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means that as an RDA, I still miss my RDA. I've missed my RDA for the last week since I've actually been using this thing, and I cannot wait to use it again, to go back to my RDA for a while, but I will still use this at least for traffic and things like that, and I'll still probably use the sub tank a little bit as well, because I do like the flavor in it, and it is pretty good. Especially if I find a juice I like a lot that's higher in PG, I'll definitely use the sub tank, because it does bring out the flavors. So yeah, I guess that concludes my video on the Maganus. This is a review from it. I'll do a head-to-head with these two, but realistically you already know where I'm at with both of them. I'll try and do the head-to-head anyways, just to give you a fair comparison side by side and see what you guys think. You can see them both in action. You guys can make a decision for yourself. And that pretty much concludes my video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I want to thank everyone for watching my last 2 videos. I am shocked by the amount of views I got, and actually more so by the average duration that people were watching. That first video was very long. It was a 27-minute long video. I was not expecting people to watch it for as long as they did. I even put the links in the description for different parts of the video so you could tell, or so you could kind of fast forward to different parts where you want it to be. And the average view time was crazy. It was something like 19 minutes, which is insane. I think as of the release of this video, it's at 346 views, the first one. And I mean, I cannot thank you guys enough. I really do appreciate it. I love making these videos. I hope you guys love watching them. It means a lot to me that we had so many views in just the first week. And on top of that, they were long views. And that's the thing I love about Vapers. We stick together, we're a community, and we're dedicated to our trade, but we're also dedicated to learning more. Whether that be reviews, whether that be learning about juices, whether it be about learning about devices, or whether it be about learning about the laws and the issues others are facing. It's such a supportive community, and that's why I love being a part of it. This is why I haven't smoked a cigarette in 6 months, because of you guys. You, the viewers, all of you guys who have helped support me throughout the 6 months. People who aren't watching this video, you've all been a huge inspiration to me. I cannot thank you guys enough. I really do appreciate it, and I love being a part of this community. Thank you for watching YouTube, and until next time, happy vaping.